Hey guys, Coach Craig here with Grit Life. Today we're going to talk to you about progression. One of the things that we try to keep in mind when we're programming here at the gym is how to keep you progressing through your training. We all hear about people hitting plateaus and not being able to increase their 1 rep max for their bench press or deadlift, or if you're talking about running, you're trying to improve your pace per mile. And so the way to handle those situations, the way to address those situations is through training progressions. And essentially, through training progressions, you systematically overload your muscles to create an adaptation to that stimuli that will render an increase in strength, speed, power, whatever you happen to be training for. So that's kind of the principle. So we have to overload our muscles, and we have to figure out how exactly to overload the muscles. Otherwise, we're just going to keep spinning our wheels, and we're not going to see progression, which is no fun for any of us. So one of the ways we do that is we break our training up into phases. And so there's a few different ways to look at that, but we're gonna talk about 3 of them over the next 3 months. The phase that we're in right now is called hypertrophy. The phase prior to that is called endurance stabilization. Okay, so we'll talk more about that later. Right now we're going to focus on hypertrophy. Hypertrophy essentially is a fancy word to describe making your muscles bigger. So we're trying to increase the cross section of each muscle fiber. As a result of that, you become stronger, and you look stronger because your muscles are a little bit bigger. So in order to create a training program, a hypertrophy training program, you have to look at, first of all, let's go right here. So we've talked about phases of training. Okay. And then we're talking about, we've got endurance stabilization, which we're not going to talk about. What we're going to talk about today is hypertrophy. Let's see if I can spell this right. Looking good. Got it. Okay. So hypertrophy. So what we're going to look at within a hypertrophy program is our sets. So how many sets of a particular exercise we're going to do. We're going to look at our repetition, how many reps we're going to do, per set, and then what kind of intensity do we want, because that's going to determine a lot. Intense. And then we're going to look at rest, because rest should always be a big, crucial part of our training. Okay, so for a typical hypertrophy workout, we're going to go with 3 to 6 sets. Okay, and then for our reps, we're going to go between 6 and 12 repetitions. Our intensity should be 75 to 85% of our 1 rep max, and then we're always going to want a 1 to 2 minute rest in between sets. Okay, so let's say this week you're starting a hypertrophy program. I would say we'll start you with 3 sets between 6, and let's kind of split that in half, 6 to 8, 6 to 10 repetitions. Okay, and then we would want to be on the low end of your percentage, so maybe right around 75%, maybe up to 80%, depending on the exercise. And then you're going to want, your 1 to 2 minute rest between there. As you progress over 4 to 6 weeks, you could increase your number of sets, you could increase your reps. Obviously, we want to increase intensity, okay, up to that 85%. Rest should relatively remain the same. If anything, you want to reduce your rest just a little bit. If you're leaning more towards the 2 minute rest mark between sets, as you progress through the phase, you would want to try to go with less rest. Okay, so Sets, reps, intensity, rest. All very important, all a very important part of hypertrophy or any phase of training, honestly. So hopefully this gives you a good picture of what we're going to be doing over the next month. So when you come into a workout, try to run through in your mind. If you have a question, you might want to ask one of the coaches. Okay, so how many sets are we doing? What kind of rep count? If I'm at a circuit, what kind of rep count do I want to get? You've got a minute to do the exercise. You know you're going to try to get 6 to 12 reps depending on how intense your weight is. If you come in and you're doing a bench press with dumbbells and you're using 15s, we know that's going to be pretty light, so you're going to want to go with a higher rep range. Hopefully, the way the workout is designed, sometimes it's not always like this, but most of the time you have an exercise that is targeting another muscle group, so you're getting at least a minute of rest for that particular muscle group during that circuit. But just try to keep these things in mind as you're in class. Most of the time when we're doing the 360 class, we have it programmed out so that you're doing the right number of sets and the right number of reps. But a circuit is a good opportunity for you guys to employ your own knowledge and figure out how many reps you should be doing, what kind of intensity you should be using, and then also making sure that you're getting the rest you need in between sets. Hope this gives you guys a good idea of how to think and how to work through a hypertrophy phase of training. If you have questions, feel free to post them. Until next time, remember to train, fuel, recover, and reflect.